Hello, and welcome to my audiobook on Jinx, the Wizard's Apprentice by Sage Blackwood. Chapter 1. Chapter 1. Jinx. In the world, you grow up fast or not at all. By the time Jinx was 6, he had learned to live quietly and carefully, squeezed into the spaces left by other people, even though the hut he lived in with his step-parents actually belonged to him. He had inherited it after his father died of werewolves, and his mother was carried off by elves. But then a spark from a passing firebird ignited the hut, and within a few minutes it had gone. The people in the clearing built another to replace it, and this new hut was not his. His step-parents, Bergthold and Cottawilda, built this neatly. Besides, the harvest had been bad that autumn, and the winter would be a hungry one. This was the sort of situation that made people in the clearing cast a calculating eye upon their supplies children, and Jinx was definitely surplus, especially since Bergthold and Cottawilda had a new baby girl of their own. He worked as hard as he could to make up for He worked as hard as he could to make up for the crime of existing, and he tried not to eat too much. He only took a single bite of his toad porridge every night before offering the next rest to the baby. Nevertheless, his step-parents agreed between them that Jinx was too much trouble and expense to raise. So late one autumn afternoon, Bergthold told Jinx to put on his coat, and together they left the clearing where they lived and plunged into the world. They followed the path where it twisted between great trees and as big around cottages. Then Bergthold stepped off the path. Jinx stopped. "What are you waiting for?" Bergthold roared. "Come on! Never stray from the path," said Jinx. "This was a rule every child in the world was taught as soon as they could walk. We're staying from it now." Bergthold grabbed Jinx by the front of his coat, cuffed his both ears, and hauled him from the path. Jinx struggled in his father's grip, believing the path was wrong. The path in the clearings of the Earl belonged, just barely, to people. Everything else belonged to the trees. Anyone who ventured off the path was doomed. Bergthold hit Jinx again, gave him a hard shove, and marched into the forest. Jinx walked, his ears burning. He made his way through the deep twilight of the Urwald, and every now and then Bergthold gave him a little shove to the left or right, around a great glowering tree, and Jinx thought that Bergthold was making sure that Jinx wouldn't be able to find the path again. "Stop here." Jinx stopped instantly, not wanting to get hit again. He wondered if Bergthold was going to kill him. "Sit down and stay right here, and don't move until nightfall, or you will wish you had never been born." Jinx already wished he had never been born, but he sat down on the moss where his stepfather pointed. He could feel the arrow's disapproval seeping up from the ground. "Good, and goodbye." Bergthold turned to go. Then he stopped, looking around him. He stared off in one direction, then stopped. Came back, started off in another direction, then he came back again. He gave Jinx a rather fugitive look. "Do you, happen to remember which way we came?" "No," said Jinx. "Ah," said Bergthold. You nodded, as though he was just thinking out things. "He's lost," Jinx thought. "We're both lost." "I think I know which way the path is, though," Jinx hazardly. "Ah, well, don't just sit there like a lump of ground. Lead on, boy." Jinx scrambled to his feet and started walking. He really had no idea where the path was, but at least moving with Bergthold behind him, he felt safer than sitting still, alone, under the Urwald's menacing shadows, and probably being watched by hungry creatures in the trees. Rounding a great gnarly knot of tree trunk, Jinx ran smack into a creature and yelped. "Calm down, boy, I won't eat you," said the creature. Since this was by no means a given in the Urwald, Jinx did calm down. This creature was a man, tall and thin, with twisty hair, yellow eyes, and a pointed beard. He was dressed in a long purple robe. His feet were bare and knotty, and he carried a basket. He had been harvesting mistletoe. Jinx had never met a wizard. He had always heard they had long white beards, not short pointy brown ones, but magic poured off the man. Ripples of magic as strong as the pulse of his life that seeped into the trees all around him. "Just walking in the woods with my boy, sir," said Jinx's stepfather to Hesley without giving any greeting at all. "You didn't tell people your business in the Urwald, and the wizard's nose twitched at that spell of the lie." "Pretty late for straying off the path," he said. Gotta teach the boy to find his way around the woods. The wizard knows tricks more. You didn't learn to find your way through the woods. You stayed out of them. Some people abandon their children in the woods, said the wizard, if they find it too much trouble to feed them. Not their own children, said Berthold. Stepchildren, maybe. Now, I've heard of that. The wizard looked at Berthold through a dark cloud of disapproval. If you marry the mother, you accept the children. I didn't marry the mother, said Berthold aggressively. She died years ago. I married a woman who was married to the man who had married the mother. The boy's got a curse on him. Everyone who takes him dies. Actually, that seems like a fairly normal death rate for the world. The wizard looked at Jinx so hard that Jinx wanted to hide. I happen to have needed a boy. I'll take him. Buy him, you mean, said Berthold. Curse and all? He's worth more than a curse. Everyone who takes him dies. You could probably use that, said Berthold. You know, against your enemies. The wizard sighed. Very well, I will pay you 1 silver penny. A silver penny? A measly silver penny for a boy like this. Berthold drew himself up. A boy of a valuable curse? You insult me, sir. A dangerous glitter flitted aside across the wizard's face, and Jinx shot his stepfather a nervous glance. Berthold was frightened and angry, as he usually was, but the fear was rippled with greed. A silver penny is a lot for a boy with a curse on him, said the wizard. Somewhere behind them there was a crunching sound, as of a fallen stick breaking under a very large foot. Jinx peered anxiously into the terrifying gloom. His stepfather was too wrought up to notice. A boy like this is worth 3 silver pennies at least, said Berthold. This is rather a surprise to Jinx, who was regularly told by both Berthold and Cobwebs that he wasn't worth a rotten cabbage leaf. He's a hard worker too, especially if you beat him up, said Berthold, and you hardly have to feed him at all. Well, I can see you haven't been, said the wizard. 1 penny's my final offer. There was more crunching sounds, sticks snapping, and the hollow scrabbles of clawed feet on the forest earth. Jinx looked this way and that, but couldn't see anything moving. He looked back at the 2 men, wished he could trust either of them. 2 silver pennies then, said Berthold. 1 silver penny, the wizard said, sounding suddenly indifferent to the whole thing. You had the best take quickly. Never. Come here, boy, the wizard commanded. Several things happened at once. Jinx took a nervous step towards the wizard. From the forest behind him, heavy rag breathing joined the sound of clawing feet, and Jinx was overwhelmed by a smell like rotten wheat. Jinx rolled around and saw trolls. They must be trolls. They were so big and tusky, crashing through the trees, bearing down on him and his stepfather. The wizard reached out and grabbed Jinx. A pale green cloud of clams surrounded the wizard. All through what happened next, and it was because Jinx could see the cloud that he stood perfectly still, even though his legs wanted to run. With a roar of triumph, one of the trolls seized Berthold around the waist and hoisted him to the shoulders. The other trolls howled with glee and danced about. A troll's claw swung right past Jinx's nose. He felt the breeze and smelled the rancid breath. Berthold streamed and reached his arms towards Jinx. Beseeching, Jinx shrank back against the wizard. The wizard didn't move. Jinx expected to feel the trolls clawing grabs him at any moment, but the trolls didn't seem to see Jinx. The party of trolls thumped out of the clearing. Jinx had a last sight of his stepfather, head bumping down against the troll's back, screaming and red-faced. Berthold's hat fell off and rolled away. Jinx broke away from the wizard and ran to pick it up. Jinx stood with the hat in his hand and looked at the claw marks on the moss at his feet. Then he looked between the trees where the trolls and his stepfather had disappeared. The earl had swallowed up Berthold, and he was no more huge and terrifying than a rabbit. The smell of rotten meat still hung in the air, though. And then Jinx had the thought that to the forest, Berthold was nothing, or just a very small thing. He didn't matter at all in the great green sea of life that was the Underworld. It was as if the idea had come from the trees himself. Well, maybe Berthold was nothing to them. They'd never been hit by him. What's your name, boy? Said the wizard gently. Jinx. Now mine is Simon, said the wizard. So that was your stepfather, wasn't it? Jinx nodded. Had he brought you into the woods to abandon you? Yes, said Jinx. Our house was mine, but it burned down, and there's a new baby. Jinx didn't expect sympathy. Never have had any before, but was a little surprised by Simon's reaction. The news that Jinx was being abandoned made the wizard smile. There was a little blue glow of satisfaction with the smile. Jinx was relieved that the wizard's feelings were as easy to see as other people's. He had learned to watch people very closely and to listen carefully. He assumed that everyone did this, and that everyone could see what he saw. I don't expect you'll miss him very much, said the wizard. Jinx shook his head. No, he wouldn't. Brett Cold was mostly a red cloud of anger that led to beatings. But now what? You come from one of the clearings? Simon asked. Didn't everybody? Jinx nodded. What's it called? Called? Doesn't your clearing have a name? I don't know. Other clearings had names. Jinx had never heard his own clearing called anything though. Could you find your clearing again? Jinx shook his head. No. Excellent, said Simon. He reached out a long, thin hand to Jinx. Jinx had never seen a wizard before. Now a wizard was sticking his hand at him. Do you want to come with me? Simon said. It had started to snow. Night was draining in, and Jinx heard stealthily rustling like surprised laughter in the forest all around him. The wizard had saved Jinx from the trolls, but he had also called the trolls? Why didn't the trolls take me? Said Jinx. They didn't see you. Was that magic? Of course. Shall we go? Jinx knew he couldn't survive alone in the other world once night fell. But wizards were dangerous. Are you the Bowmaster? Jinx asked. The Bowmaster was the only wizard Jinx had ever heard of by name. Everyone in Jinx's clearing was terrified of the Bowmaster, though no one had ever seen him. No, I am not the Bowmaster. I am just Simon Magnus. The Bowmaster sucks out people's souls with a straw, Jinx said. Do you? I have some bad habits, said Simon, but that is not one of them. Do you eat people? Said Jinx. Certainly not. Do you kill people? Rarely Celadon, and never small boys. The wizard's socks were green and blue, and they slid around each other swiftly and secretively. But they weren't red and angry, and that was something. And the Earl loomed, ready to swallow Jinx as easy as it had to step over. It's nearly dark. Are you coming? Simon held out his hand again. Jinx made his choice and took it.